Good afternoon, guys. What's up for today? Good afternoon, we say boa tarde in Portuguese, so I'll say boa tarde for the ones who speak Portuguese too, okay? I'm Paty, head of entrepreneurship program at Embraer. The name is Greenlight. I'll tell something about it later. I'm here to close this amazing day of Embraer, so thank you for the ones who has been here with us throughout this journey during the day, and also welcome aboard for the ones who just arrived. Our last flight is about to take off, okay? So fasten your seatbelts. And for this, I summon up my crew. First one, Cesar Ortolani, Head of Digital Service at Embraer. Next, Dimas Tomelin, Vice President of Innovation and Strategy at Embraer, and AKA my boss. And last but not least, our very special guest, Scott Dickhouse from Amazon AWS. Scott is head of aerospace solution in Amazon, okay? So guys, let's start. Well, I believe it's good to introduce ourselves first, okay? So please, start.
Hello everyone, my name is Cesar Ortolani. It's a pleasure to be here. I have around 15 years of experience in technology, flight operations, strategy, and now I'm leading the digital service at Embraer.
Hello. Before I introduce myself, I need to say you look great today, Pat.
Thank you, boss. Woo! Thank you.
So thanks everyone for being here with us today. My name is Dimas. For the Americans, you can call me Douglas. You know, every time I go to Starbucks and whatever, you know, and I ask my coffee, if I say Dimas, I never get it. So Douglas works fine for me. I have 22 years in the company. It's been quite a journey. And of course, I had different positions during those 22 years. But today, I have to say that I have the funnest job possible in the company. So I'm responsible for strategy and innovation, right? In a moment where, you know, we see so many new technologies kind of blooming, right? We see a real discussion about environment, about sustainability. And that, of course, creates some challenges for the industry. But I believe that for companies like Embraer, you know, it can bring really great opportunities. We believe, you know, for the aerospace standards, we are a quite agile company. So very happy to be with you today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dimas. I'm Scott D. I lead our aerospace solutions at AWS, and a lot of folks are like, what does AWS have to do with aerospace? They deliver stuff to my house, and I think they have something about a cloud. And what my role is to work with companies like Embraer across the aerospace industry to help bring innovation through our services and through our technical experts to go help build aircraft more quality, safer, reliability, and just to overall help improve efficiencies.
Nice. And I'm Paty again. I'm a mechatronic engineer. I work as head of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship because we run a program in our company that we open a space for our employees to give ideas, and we sponsor these ideas to make some new business, new technologies, and new service. The name of this program is Greenlight because it is a green light for their ideas. And I'm here today with these amazing guys, okay? Well, let's start. First question, I can tell that all our passengers here are curious to know, is there a real balance between innovation and core business?
Well, it's not an easy question and not an easy answer. But before starting, how many people here is involved with aviation? Okay, I guess around 5%, something like that.
Not as much.
Okay, we can say anything now.
They will believe in us, right?
Yeah. Well, this answer is not easy, as I told, but basically we have to see how the company works in terms of strategy, process, culture, people, and many factors impact if there is a real balance or not. And we also take credit about the essence of the company as Embraer. We started as innovative in '69. Then Embraer is very innovative. And, well, we are going to discuss about this in the next 45 minutes.
gonna be great.
If there is a real balance between
Yeah.
core business and innovation.
But Cesar, if you allow me, I think it's important for us to give some examples of what we mean with core business, right? And what is innovation, so that you materialize that. Maybe one good example is, back early 2000s, Embraer was not present in the executive aviation, but we thought that could be a very interesting move for the company. Of course, that there were very well established, very good competition already in place. So we had to be very innovative to get into this business. And at that time, we leveraged from what we had in our core business at that moment, which was commercial aviation, right? And we brought to the segment things like flight controls or high reliability that in the future the fleet operators they did enjoy a lot. So things that were common for the bigger platforms, we brought to the medium and small executive jets, and that was a great success. And now we can say that executive aviation is part of our core business, but it was a great innovation in the past, right? And if we connect to the next move, let's talk about Eve, right? Our eVTOL company, right? Brand new technology, new ecosystem, everything is new. But Eve is benefiting from the core business, right? From the certification capability from Embraer. Because we see many companies flying eVTOLs, but we know what it takes, to get full certification on those platforms, and so to the point that you can put people inside, right? And also Eve is benefiting from the executive aviation, to reach their customers, or commercial aviation in the airlines. So there is a positive connection. In a few years, Eve will be considered our core business. But what would Eve be doing for the next move, right? So just one example for you guys to have in mind, the mechanics of what we're talking about. Of course, I think the panel today is about how we do that, right?
Nice. You both talk about tradition, right? Both companies here, Embraer and AWS, are very well established in the area where they perform at, and both have core business, very innovative. But we know aviation is very strict and full of requirements because it needs to be. We are talking about safety. How not be deceived by the sensation that the core business is already enough and keep open for new opportunities?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. May I go first?
Yeah.
It's a great question, especially for companies like ours, that it's very technology-driven companies by nature. So I think the first point that we should pay attention is culture, right? The culture of innovation. And then you might say, come on, Dimas, that's too complicated, right? This culture thing, it takes forever, right? Actually, it's not. It's as simple as, you create the environment to your people, to be free to give you new ideas, right? And then they are open, to say things that could make sense or could not. So this environment is essential to make things happen. And of course, we need minimum process to make sure we follow up on those ideas, right? Because if they start giving ideas, but they don't see what's happening next, they will just stop. So I think culture is the first point. Second one, I would say that all type of innovation matters. And we stimulate a lot, like incremental innovation. We have thousands of people, giving new ideas and incremental things. That keeps the company really healthy, right? That brings competitiveness, reduce costs. Very important. If you go for like radical innovation, how can we apply our products to adjacent business or things like that? Also important to the company. That means probably smaller investments for additional revenue. Relatively small investments, also great. And at the end, of course, everyone wants to talk about disruptive innovation, right? What that means, how we do that. That's also another important segment. And of course, for disruptive thing, we benefit from our capabilities, from our credibility in the core business, but we do execute it separately. For us, we have like our Embraer X. Daniel is here, responsible for Embraer X. This is the instruments, the company that we use to execute disruptive innovation with different process, more simple, more agile to get things done, right? I think those are the main points that we use to avoid that trap that you just mentioned.
I was going to say at AWS and at Amazon in total, one of our leadership principles is invent and simplify. And what's really unique about the culture at Amazon is a lot of times you'll have something like a leadership principle or leadership values, or different companies call them different things. And a lot of times it's just a poster on one of the meeting rooms, and it doesn't really mean that much. And I think at Amazon, we really live those. Those come up every day. And everyone is an inventor, and everyone is an innovation officer. So you can't just say, hey, go create innovation. And it really comes from the people, and then how leadership is nurturing them and giving them space to go run a little bit. And so, like, when you think about aviation, and then how do we combine some of the technologies that we would work with Embraer, and how do we think about innovation? It's, hey, how do we go work backwards from our customer, and then work backwards from our customers' customers? And that's one of the really unique things about AWS, is that we're working both with the airlines and the OEs like Embraer. So we can work backwards from Embraer or from just the general public and some of the general airlines to say, hey, what do they really need, and how can we go marry that technology to go help them? And by listening to the customers and listening to what those needs are, and even helping them sometimes see around the corner, whether that be a passenger experience, that you could add a new feature into an aircraft, or helping mechanics on like a line be able to go put together the aircraft quicker by having digital tools where they can simulate with some of the VR goggles like that are outside in the atrium there. Like, how can you put together the aircraft before you actually get on the floor? How can the pilot go fly the airplane without having to go fly the airplane? And we talked a little bit about that earlier, the need for pilots. So how can you go simulate that using technology that's going to go help provide you that real experience? And so that's how we think about it. Everyone is an innovator. It's in our LPs, and it's something that it's a core belief of ours.
It's interesting that we have so much commonality, right? Different companies, but we look, culture the same way. And companies like Amazon, they're helping us not only to get the data, but make sure that we look in the data in a way that we extract what matters most for our customer. That's a type of partnership that really works, right?
Yeah. And just a really quick piggyback on that, and I think a lot of what folks wrestle with, and this kind of goes for any company, is I would say the 3 Ps, and that's what we really work on: the provide, the predict, and then the prescribe. And then you can kind of talk about the AI, ML, and then Gen AI applications that are out there right now. So how do we go infuse that technology from people who are living and breathing AI, ML every day across a lot of different corporations with some of the best airframers in the world? Like, literally the world's best aerospace engineers are down in São José dos Campos. How do we go fuse that together to go make a better product at the end?
Nice. You were talking about data, so I believe I can ask the next one, that is, innovation comes with digital and data collection, but how do we ensure that we transform data to value to our customers?
Great. I will divide the answer in 2, okay? The first one is about digital. Basically, let's get an inefficient process. If you just accelerate the process, get the same process, and accelerate it, we have just a bad output fast. Let's compare with a caterpillar. If you just get a caterpillar and put a rocket in the back, will just go fast, the caterpillar, but you will never become a butterfly. And the digital is about that. We have to reshape, we have to transform how you see the things, how you see the process, to become a butterfly, to see the top, and to see fly over. Like in airplanes. And about airplanes, we know how to make, we know about airplanes, okay? Yeah. And when we talk about data collect, we have to not look directly to the data collect. It's about the right data. Well, I asked you how many people is in aviation environment. It's around 5%. We have here around 50 people. Well, this information is available for us. What do you do with this information? At this moment, nothing. Then we have to use the right data to satisfy our customer, what the customer needs. This is what we are talking right now. If you go as Embraer, for example, what our customers are looking for. They need a high competitive costs and a high availability. This is what they are looking for. And they have customers of customers of customers, and we need to understand how we are going to deliver the value for all of them through the data, okay? And I can provide some examples through the data that we are using right now. Using data to health monitoring, predictive maintenance, supply management, training. Well, your company can use this data to achieve this type of value for our customers. Then, at the end of the day, we have to understand what our customers need and deliver them the value. And, well, this is the reason that we have AWS with us. They understand very, very much about the data. Right, Scott?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I think everyone can probably relate to this in their everyday jobs. If you work at a corporation that you're procuring stuff, or if you're manufacturing stuff, or you have people and you have an HR system, it's really bloody hard if you're the CEO of the corporation to go home and say, boy, I had a good day, or today wasn't my best day, and this is what I need to go change. There's not one application that goes and does that for you. You'll maybe try to put some stuff in Power BI or Tableau, but let's put ourselves in the head of Embraer's shoes here. I have multiple manufacturing plants across multiple continents. Some are doing MRO, some are doing production. I have engineering design teams. How am I supposed to know if I had a good day or not, or a good week, or a good month? How many armies of analysts am I going to have out there with pivot tables and Excel sheets trying to go pull SQL queries to get out of the data systems? And most of our legacy aerospace companies that have been around for a long time are mergers of multiple companies that have different MES systems that are sometimes 20, 30, 40 years old. So when we try to look at data for aerospace companies, or just aerospace in general, it's how do we make that data usable and really set it free? And that's hard to do. It's kind of overly used word, but the digital thread of trying to go say, I want to go track that part. I want to know who touched it. I want to know the manufacturing conditions. I want to know what airline that aircraft got sold off to. And then when it comes back into my depot, I want to know how many cycles it has on it. Is that possible? Absolutely. Is that done well today? Not as good as it could be. And I think that's what we're working on, especially in the services and support arena, where the aircrafts are really relying on us to make sure that we have parts where they need them, when they need them, to keep their aircraft up and running, and that we know what has happened to those parts, and that we can go repair those quickly and get them back and on their way. So it's a journey, especially with the new technologies we have today. It can make that journey go quicker, but it's not an easy one, and it's one that the whole industry within aerospace, I think by just some macro events that have happened, we're going to be facing into here over the next coming years.
And sometimes we are looking for a disruptive innovation. And, well, data can contribute to improve what we have. We don't need to be disruptive every single day. Just improving the process through the data, it's innovation. And this is like an integration through the solutions that we already have. It's a simple innovation that can deliver a value to our customers.
Yeah, and what do we expect from being a more data-oriented company? We expect speed, accuracy, so we take more effective actions to support our customer, right? So, we are getting traction on that regard.
Well, one more point about data and then how it's used, and you think of something like designing an aircraft. You don't want to go build an aircraft and have be the first time you actually go fly it. It's when you're putting metal up in the air. Well, the way to go do that is using CFD simulations, like with AWS, using parallel cluster to go schedule your jobs. And in the old days, companies would just go buy a supercomputer or multiple supercomputers, and it would sit sometimes and not be used at other times. And let's just say a simulation takes 1,000 hours to run. So if you have one supercomputer, you can run it for 1,000 hours, or you can go get 1,000 computers and run it for 1 hour. And I think that's really the power of the technology that is out there today to go help bring aircraft to market quicker. You can go fly the aircraft and fly it in different weather conditions and put different features on it before you have to go put it up in the air. At Amazon, we talk about that as one-way and two-way doors. So if you go through a one-way door, you go put an aircraft up in the air, there's no room for mistakes. You go through a two-way door, that's something you can go simulate, and you can go try something out in the computer. Well, it didn't work. I can go back through that two-way door, and I can go redesign. And so that's the power with the technology that we have today. And when you go take those really smart engineers and you go take the really smart technologists to put them together to share ideas, and gosh, you got a pretty hot scenario going.
Sky is the limit, right?
Yes, and you were talking about data and that we need to collect data to satisfy our clients and customers. As you are today our customers, clients, I need to say to you that I have a very powerful data with me right now. After here, we will have our happy hour, and we have like 200 caipirinhas waiting for you. It is a very, very good drink, a Brazilian drink. If you have already tried it, you know it. So just remember, after this conversation, we'll have caipirinhas waiting for us there, okay?
It's more than one per person, right?
More than one per person.
It's gonna be
and
tough,
we'll have
guys.
wine, beer also, but caipirinha is special.
It's a good information.
Very good information, right? This one is for Scott, especially. AWS is a worldwide symbol of innovation. How does Amazon deal with customer expectations about launching something extremely innovative, and how do you apply it in aviation?
Okay, that's a great question. These are like interview questions. These are pretty hard. Give me an example of a time. That's a great question about customer and dissatisfaction potentially with how fast innovation is going. And one of the things I think of is Jeff Bezos, our founder at Amazon, wrote in one of his annual shareholder letters, he said, customers are always going to be beautifully and wonderfully dissatisfied no matter how happy they are or how good the business is running. And that is really how we think about the world. Never pat yourself too much on the back. Always try to be looking around that corner. And I talked a little bit about the invent and simplify leadership principle. But it's how we operate our business. And I can just tell you about some of the mechanisms, and that's how AWS and Amazon really run innovation, is through mechanisms and enabling it to go flourish. So if anyone has a really great idea that they want to go run with, anyone in the company can go write a PRFAQ, a press release, frequently asked questions. It's usually about a 6-page document, and Amazon is peculiar. There's not as much PowerPoint slides, because at a lot of companies, whoever has the best PowerPoint slide, and you know there's some PowerPoint slide jockeys out there, they can usually get their deal sold and get leadership approval. This is a press release where you go detail out what the innovative idea is, and then it's frequently asked questions. And sometimes when you're taking it through multiple reviews, there'll be 400 or 500 different comments on a paper. And no matter how good of a writer you thought you were, your soul will be crushed. And that's okay. But the goal of that then is to make sure that we have products that customers are going to like. And what is the data that has led you to that conclusion? It's almost like a dissertation, that it really helps your critical thought process. No one is able to pass through a 6-page PRFAQ and come out the other side without having thought about their idea so thoroughly that it's not going to be successful. And that's really one of our mechanisms. Another one is the 2 pizza teams. And I don't know how many people have heard about that. But what we have at Amazon is small teams. And the thought process is, you've probably been in organizations where they say, hey, we need these levels of management and finance, and we need HR involved, we need engineers, and the teams just kind of bloat. And you'll have a meeting, and all of a sudden, I always say those are like $100,000 meetings because there's 40 people in the room. Like, why are there so many people in the room when there's maybe 5 or 6 that really matter? So most of our teams are structured so that 2 pizzas could feed that team, and there's a single-threaded owner across all of them. And so we really try to cultivate that innovation by being fast and nimble. And when we talk about aerospace specifically, and that's part of the reason why we're here, and we have a very small aerospace team. We call on basically every single aerospace company that is out there, but we have a team of 2.5 that are out there. But it really helps us be nimble and be able to go reach back upon some of our technical experts, and we're the leaders there to go help bring the customer's problems, what the wants and desires are. And I've talked to a number of the different Embraer leadership team that's been here. And my first question for our customers is always like, what is the biggest, nastiest, hairiest problem you have that is keeping you up and that you need something to go be designed? We may have something in our tool belt. We may not, but it really informs us of what we need to go work on, because while we do have some really good ideas, the best ideas always come from our customers.
Yep.
And I like that speech, about always pushing the boundaries, to excel, to have something more competitive to offer. And when you think about Embraer, right, we have the more comprehensive portfolio in the world, right? So we are in commercial aviation, executive defense, eVTOL, cybersecurity, air traffic control. So which means we fight to everyone, right, every day. But the only thing that we're sure is that what we did yesterday is not enough today. So we need to keep improving. And we believe that, with this type of approach, always, challenging and looking for what is next, it's really healthy for innovation and for the company.
In terms of service and supports, every day is a single challenge to our customer. We have many types of customers. The first time I talked with Scott, he asked exactly what he told. What is the big challenge for you, man? And since we started our partnership, everything is taking off very, very good. Thank you, man.
It's always about the customer. It has to be successful in business, and it's kind of cliche to say that. But it's always about the customer. And another one of our mechanisms that I probably should have brought up is if you wait till you get to 100% before you can make that decision, that's too much. What's the 70% solution that is low risk that you can go out, and don't be afraid of failure? So how many people have a Fire phone in their pocket right now? How many people remember the Fire phone?
There is one.
There's a handful. Okay,
There's one there.
So that's okay. That was a failure. So that I think everyone at Amazon will say, hey, that was not a product that actually survived the market. But the learnings that we have from that and the technology has gone into other products of ours. And that was, it wasn't exactly a one-way door, but it's something that did fail, didn't cause catastrophic damage, and we were able to go harness the learnings of that to go into other products. And it's items like that that are really important for us to be at that cutting edge of innovation and keep leading the pack.
Nice. Actually, it connects a bit with the next question, that is how to deal with innovation development in a controlled environment as aviation. Because how not stop innovative mind with bureaucracy? We have this mindset that inside innovation everything is very strict, full of requirements because it needs to be. We are talking about safety products, but how not stop people with bureaucracy?
Yeah. So I might kick off that one. Aviation, it's a very regulated industry, which is positive, right? So we all want to fly safety, right? So I would not call regulation as bureaucracy. To me, bureaucracy is that bad thing, that's driving you lots of energy and it's not adding any value, and then you need to eliminate. But the regulation we need to follow to make sure that, when you put your children in our platforms or your mother, they will fly very, very safely. So this is a kind of boundary condition. But the aviation is also always pushing the line, right? So we are looking for more efficient airplanes, reduce emissions, reduce noise, lighter platforms. So I think it's a very innovative industry because we need, right? We need to be more competitive. So I think it's the right environment, for innovation.
And just kind of talking about bureaucracy, I think we've all probably had managers that have shut us down for ideas as well. Everyone's had a manager that was not their favorite. And you bring the idea to them, and I always say it's the antibodies start coming out of the organizations, either the not invented here or the why are you getting into my function? Why are you trying to go outside of what your job role and your job statement says? You're too new in the company, you're too junior overall. And those are the things that will just shut down the ideas and really get the folks to just kind of clam up and be quiet. And I always think of, where do the best ideas come from in a company? It's not going to be from someone who is sitting on the 11th floor of the building. The best idea, and I think of aerospace specifically, and the best ideas that I always saw were from someone who was turning a wrench, someone who was out in the field with a customer, someone who was a spreadsheet jockey and having to combine a whole bunch of spreadsheets and trying to figure out, how do we put this data together in a more efficient manner? How do we change the engineering? Because I know engineers are never wrong in aircraft design, but it's every once in a while a mechanic will try to line the two things up, and boy, there's some interference there. How do we design that in a more a better fashion to perform maintenance on it? And so those are the kind of people that we want to make sure that their voices are heard and that management doesn't stifle it. And I'm going to turn it around to my friends here on the panel. So how do you ensure that people at I always love the wrench turners. How do we make sure that the folks on the production floor, their voice is heard? Because I've been in your factories and I've seen your 3P process, and I've seen the sticky notes on the boards, and you get input from everyone, and not all corporations are like that. And maybe you could kind of talk about your process for how you get the voice of the floor up through and get the ideas raised.
Yeah, I can start that one, maybe Cesar, you can complement. So yeah, we do have different processes to stimulate that discussion. You mentioned 3P, and there are many others. Green light is a great one. I need to mention the green light because
Thank you. Thank you. I was waiting for it.
But the process themselves will not make the magic. The magic will come from the leadership that make people comfortable to talk, right? And of course, the process is there so that we can have the means, to make that happen. But it's all about people. It's all about the leadership that creates the environment for the innovation to happen. But of course, processes are important as well.
Yeah, and we opened this program, innovation program. The name is Boa Ideia in Portuguese, Good Idea in English. Good Idea was born in the shop floor. It was born for people from the shop floor. And almost all of the ideas that we receive is from them. Today, this program has already 35 years coming, and we have like 150,000 ideas already developed inside this program. 90,000, they were from the shop floor. It means that it was developed for the shop floor. They can participate and they really believe that they are heard. So if I may say for you, this kind of innovation program needs to be developed for people and with the people. So I guarantee that the people are heard in the way they need to be heard. It doesn't matter how. For example, you cannot give a computer or a laptop for a shop floor guy because they cannot stop. They're in the shop floor to do it. We let them papers up to date in front of their workplace to give ideas, and it works up to date. It doesn't sound very innovative, right, with paper and pens, but it is still happen, and it still works. So it needs to fit.
Simple is good, right? Simple is good.
Simple is good. Yeah.
Good.
And well, we are talking about almost best practice, right? And please prepare your notes because now we are arriving in the suggestion, okay? I will ask you here right now. I can bet that everybody wants to know what are your suggestions to have this innovative place, and how are our best practice in our companies to make this innovative place, innovative environment?
Yeah. Well, I can start that one, and of course understanding there is no one-fits-all type of solution. But there are a few things that we practice that we believe are very powerful. The first one, we put strategy and innovation together. Not only as organization, but also as a mindset, right? So every time we start designing this strategy, we make sure that innovation discussion comes to the table, and we count on that as part of the strategy. And also, we know resources are not unlimited. So if we had to make choices about, concentrating some innovation areas, of course we will do on the areas that are more strategic for the company. So that's one. Second one is open innovation, and it's all about partnership. We do that with many universities, institutes, with other companies, right? So many different partners. AWS is one example, right? And I believe the secret is to find the right partner, the one with shared vision, but with complementary, competence and ideas. And you will not find those great partners by sitting in your office, in your desk, waiting for them to call you. You need to go and talk to people. That's why we're here in the South by, right? There's many interesting partners for us here. That's why we have presence in all continents, right? We have an organization just talking to people. That's real open innovation. And the last one is open strategy. And what is open strategy? It's to share ideas with a broader, amount of people about what can we do next. We typically start that with our own team. We involve lots of people, all the leadership inside of the company, and say, guys, what should we do? That's the condition. What do you think? And we take out that into consideration. But we also do that with suppliers. They are very important in our industry. They're very powerful, very knowledge. And if we succeed, they succeed. So there is a win-win situation there. And finally, with customers, right? If the customers believe in our strategy, they go to the point that they fund our projects. So it's as beauty as that. But for open strategy to work, there is one fundamental word that is called trust. Who will do the first step? And we typically do that. So we trust, and then by trusting, you create trust in the other side, and then things get done.
I'd like to add about the customers in terms of service and support. I guess bringing the customers inside our home and getting their feedback, it's part of the innovation. Because sometimes we are trying to define what they would like. Well, it's easier. Let's bring him inside of the house and ask what they need. Of course, if you are looking for disruptive, it's also valuable. We have to define many things. But if he is with us, like the first trust, well, we can define the best product for them. We have to achieve what they are looking for.
Exactly.
I was going to chip in. You talked about trust. The people in the trust, and I don't think that can be overstated. Like I've said, I think everyone's probably had a job where they had a leadership chain that they didn't trust as much as they could. And I'm not a big book fan, but I do like the speed of trust. And you see that. And it's both with your suppliers, it's with your customers. Once you can get that past that trust, and especially with your employees, that's when the innovation and flow can really happen. And you think about, I always think about the airline industry. So the airlines have data, the OEMs have data, and everyone's thinking that their data is the most valuable. How do we build that trust to go create more reliable aircraft? And that's something that's really powerful, just talking about aviation. Also, along with that trust and with leadership and having those more junior employees talk, we have another leadership principle that says disagree and commit. And disagreements are going to happen, and that they're being able to be done respectfully, and that you understand why a decision is made. That is really important. And that's one of the things I know Jimas was saying he has the best job. I think I personally have the best job, not in AWS, but
You're not competing.
Man, I have the best job. I have a supportive leadership chain. I have the best customers in the world. And that just changes your whole life, right? That you're not afraid to go take a chance on something, or to be able to put forth a document or an idea and not get told that, well, that's a really stupid idea. Why'd you come up with that one? Or even the no decision is also a decision type thing. So that trust with your leadership, that your ideas, if they're fully thought out, are going to get taken advantage of, boy, that really leads to a lot of innovation.
And you can only say that you disagree but commit in a trustful
That's
right?
the whole point. It's the
Right?
two things. It's the
Yeah.
disagree and the commit, that we're going
That's
to
an
make it.
interesting concept. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to make a decision, and we're going to student body right, but we're not just saying, hey, this is why we're going that way. Let's have a thoughtful and respectful dialogue about it. And so that's why I said our leadership principles really set the tone for how the whole company operates. And it's something that it's not just corporate speak, it's how we live our values.
So can we say that trust is like the basis for everything?
Yes, absolutely. It has to be.
It's definitely, right?
It has to be based on trust. And the other good thing about working with companies like Embraer, I mean, you're literally working with some of the smartest people in the world, and AWS. I always say I'm the least smart person in any conversation that I'm in. We just work with so many really talented and intelligent folks that if you get everyone the trust to buy in, you can move so much quicker. And with the pace that technology is developing right now, especially with the AI, ML, and the LLMs, gosh, almost any question that you have. That's why I always want to hear the big, hairy problems. We got people who can go take them on.
Nice. And I would suggest that let your people know that they are working in innovation. Sometimes it's easier for them to understand that they are not very innovative. For example, for us, we made a very innovative product, but it is our daily basis, right? Sometimes we forget that we are making airplanes and military radars and collecting data and working with AI. So let them know, remember them that they are working with something very innovative. Explain them what are the innovation categories we are working on. And more than this, if they already know, open this space for them to collaborate with innovation. So ideas programs, also we have startup program, for example, for them. We promote marathons with the whole ecosystem, outside ecosystem. So it is important to capacitation for people to understand more about innovation. So it is important to let them know that they are innovative and they have this space to innovate, okay? Well, I have the last question for you, and of course, it is the name of our panel. After all of this, I would like to know from you, is there a real balance between innovation and core business?
Well, after this inspiring session and discussion, right, it's impossible to say no. So the answer is, of course, yes. And I would say for Embraer, innovation is our way of doing business.
I would absolutely agree, yes. You're always going to focus on what you have in front of you, but you're always going to be looking around that corner, listening to your customer, listening to outside influences, putting that all in the gonculator, and taking that forward to come up with those next great ideas.
And the challenge is not every single day, it's every single minute. And
Exactly.
And the services. We have many challenges. And it's innovative every time.
Yes, and I would say that yes, there is a real balance between innovation and core business, but everybody needs to understand that innovation is not an event, it's a whole process of changes as in our daily basis. This sentence is not mine, I wish it was, it was from Google, but I need to share with you this sentence, okay?
It's a mindset, right?
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah,
It's a
journey.
marathon.
It is a
Never-ending
journey.
marathon, ultra-marathon.
And that's the beauty, right? That's the beauty. So.
Yeah. Well, we have a space now for you to make some questions if you want. Please feel free to question whatever you want for us about this panel. We have the microphone there.
Yep.
I have a question, but first feedback. I, about a decade ago, saw a presentation of Embraer 195, designed inside out. And I'm a small guy, and always you have a problem in the plane with the 3 seats, with the middle seat. And this plane was designed so our wider part is in the wider part of the plane. And there is only one seat foot in the floor, so plenty of room for the legs. I mean, you should emphasize this is a great innovation, although it's only geometric, but how to think where the space has to be, not here, but here. And this, for guys like me, was superb. Okay? I tell you, 195, 175 is super comfortable to fly with. Sometimes they have problems because they shrink the space for the legs between one seat to the other, but this doesn't depend on you. But the question is, you mentioned, although we are in the digital world, that you still have paper on your production site. I am from the construction. We are here. I was on a week in Palo Alto, and then this week here with a lot of other Brazilian guys on business, land development or construction development. And one of our challenges is to bring to the construction site technologies like a QR code to show you where the project is with the last change. We can make mistakes in construction. You cannot. If you make a mistake, you can repair. You cannot. So, what are the challenges for you to bring these new ways to talk with the guys who is assembling there? He cannot make mistakes, but your engineers must know if he finds something which is critical in the moment of putting parts together.
Yeah. I can start maybe answer that. Thanks for the question. Thanks for the feedback, right?
Thank you very much.
That design happens when you put the customer.
Yeah, I am the customer of your customer.
Right, so we think about the customer. Every product, being commercial, executive, defense, we think about first, what is the task of the customer? And then we design the aircraft around it, right? So thanks. I'm happy that you appreciate. Yeah. And in terms of paper, just to clarify, our systems, our production, it's all paperless in terms of the tasks that needs to be performed by the technicians and the mechanics. What we mentioned here in the paper is like programs like Good Idea or Boa Ideia, you know. We have all the simple ways for people to, I have one idea. Then
was to grab the ideas of Good Idea.
But the production itself, it's 100% paperless, full integrated with all the digital systems, all the data from the engineers. Something, gets different than it should. The engineers know automatically. And we can talk more about that, through your
a gente fala depois, mas
I will say there is a lot of paper, though, in aerospace yet, especially in the repair business.
On the repair, yes.
On the repair business, there is a lot of paper, and we see a lot of similarities. Actually, I'll put a plug in for our construction vertical, which is sitting right next to me. In the org chart. And we see a lot of similarities between that, the paper on the construction site and the paper in the repair business of the airlines. And we talked about that. How do you get that integration between the engineering designers, the supply chain for when your bricks or your steel is going to show up, your HR systems for who has the right OSHA certs to be able to perform there? That all has to be put together and then be made available so the foreman can say, hey, are we making the right progress and are we going to complete on time? And I think the comment about how do we get the folks who are actually doing the work, I always say that everyone in aerospace, everybody is a program manager. Everyone's a profit and loss owner. Everyone has a target, no matter if it's an accountant, no matter if it's someone on the floor. They should understand what work they're supposed to be performing for that day. And if you can get that all digital to say, you're performing these 4 jobs, it's supposed to take you 8 hours, your average is 9.5, what do you need to go do the job better? Do you need better tools? Do you need better training? Do you need a nearer espresso machine to your workstation? What do you need? And I think having that open dialogue with the employees to say, what do you need? And be able to show that digital data. For the folks who have seen Moneyball, I always say it's the moneyballing of production systems or construction systems. How about that? If you can go do that, it just involves everyone. Everyone wants to know how they're performing. And if you can have that really intellectually stimulating conversation about, hey, here's some areas where you can go improve and here's the data behind it, how can we help you using the carrot versus the stick? Not, hey, you're not putting the steel up fast enough or you're not bending the metal fast enough. More of, how can we help you? What are you seeing that we're not?
Well, we have a lot of solutions down there in Brazil already, very advanced. I was not shocked here, although surprised, in the various startups we've been through, including Procore. this morning. And the problem is not the technology that is available, it's technology that are really used on the everyday job. The distance between these two is the biggest challenge. What to make them? Everybody has a phone today. Even a regular smartphone, you can open a QR and you can see everything. But is that enough? We don't know the answer for that. The whole construction industry is struggling, is working to find a solution to deploy it to the floor.
Let's talk more afterwards.
Anytime.
And welcome to the journey.
Yeah.
Very much. Well,
Have a backpack.
I am in this journey for 4 decades. My conclusion on engineering was how a turbofan moves a plane.
Thank you.
Great.
And I may say, thank you very much for the compliment. You will earn like 2 caipirinhas for that. It was amazing.
But I would like to add, he told about the technology. And the digital transformation is not about the technology, because we have technology available for many things. Even aerospace, we are in the high level of technology. But sometimes it's a cultural.
People.
It's
It always goes to people, right? There's enough technology, time and money, you got enough technology to solve everything. People. And that's tough. There is no technology. It's an art, not a science.
It needs a balance, right? Maybe you need sometimes you need a paper, sometimes you need the digital. It's a mix.
Yeah, sometimes we need to transform it that a way that we are not looking like the people are using the paper and we are taking picture to extract the data. Well, we should get the
Crazy,
data directly through the system, but well.
That's it.
All right. Was it that clear? That's great.
Yeah. No questions? I believe now I can tell you thank you very much to being here with us. It was amazing to have you all here. It was a very special day, very great responsibility to close this day with you all. I must announce that we have now our happy hour with Tagua Tagua, the band, and also with some caipirinhas. And I wish today you feel a bit how Embraer innovates, how AWS innovates. And I would like also to let you know that there are challenges, okay? It's not easy. We are not telling that it's a fairy tale to innovate and to keep this culture innovation in our daily basis. It is a challenge, but we opened a bit here our challenge and how we develop this innovation inside.
Great.
Do you want to have something?
Yeah, I would say, I'd like to say that, well, we have more than 1,000 people landing every single day in Austin in the last 5 days.
With our airplane.
With airplane. This is the point. With Embraer airplane.
Embraer.
Embraer.
Yeah, this is a very good data, okay?
Yeah.
1,000 people arriving in Austin by Embraer planes. So remember, when you are inside an airplane, look at letters.
Embraer.
When you see like E175, E190, it is Embraer. Because, of course, we remember about the airline, but sometimes we forget about who made the airplane. We are making this airplane, so it is Embraer, it is our airplanes, okay?
More than that.
Wonderful.
Probably you are going to take off in the next days in an Embraer, then have a safe home back in a comfortable and in a comfortable 2 seats with no middle seat.
Great.
Enjoy.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.